Howdy folks, Jamboree here, and welcome to another episode of The Church of Tim Curry. Joining me is my co-host, Viva Becker.
Hi.
Brilliant intro. Anyway,
Jesus
so
Christ.
we're going to be talking about the two Barbie movies that star Tim Curry. Barbie and the Nutcracker and Barbie and the Three Musketeers. We'll be starting with Barbie and the Nutcracker. Based on the classic ballet by Tchaikovsky, Barbie and the Nutcracker stars Barbie in the role of Clara, a young girl who falls asleep one Christmas night and starts dreaming about rats invading her home, led by the evil Rat King, voiced by His Holiness Tim Curry. Fighting off these rats is the brave Prince Eric, who has been transformed into a Nutcracker by the Rat King's scepter. Clara tries to help the Nutcracker, but is turned small by the Rat King. Clara must travel with the Nutcracker, plus two soldiers called Major Mint and Captain Candy, in a journey to find the Sugar Plum Princess, who will be able to help them overthrow the Rat King and turn Clara back to normal size. Meanwhile, only Clara has worked out that the Nutcracker is really Prince Eric, while everyone else is naive to this, and the prince learns how his people really feel about him. However, despite hearing these harsh words, Clara continues to motivate him to do his best. So the first thing I want to discuss before anything is our backgrounds in Barbie movies. And I know that Viva is more acquainted with the franchise than me, so she can talk about her relationship with it first.
Yes, so, I grew up watching the Barbie movies, and, I was lucky enough to grow up watching the Barbie movies right around the golden age of Barbie movies, which was a little bit after Barbie and the Nutcracker, and a little bit before Barbie and the Three Musketeers. So, that's what I know about it.
As for me, I've only ever watched one Barbie movie. It was called Barbie Video Game Hero, which was released this year, and it was about Barbie being stuck inside a video game world. I thought it was okay enough, nothing spectacular, but also not that bad. It was pretty cool that the film had Barbie as a video game designer. That's very inspiring and empowering for little girls who want to go into the video game industry when they grow up. Sure, it had its dumb moments, and the constantly shifting art styles for each level were hard to keep adjusting to, but it was watchable enough to hold my attention until the end. So yeah, we're first going to discuss Barbie in the Nutcracker. Your initial thoughts, Viva?
Well, Barbie and the Nutcracker was kind of their first Barbie movie. I think there's two other ones, but they're not really Barbie movies like you would think of. They came out in the 80s. So you can really tell that it was their first kind of attempt. They did kind of the same thing that Pixar did with their first 3D animation, where they basically made them all toys. The other main character besides Barbie is a Nutcracker, so he's easy to animate in that he's made of wood, and everything looks like it's made of wood. The animation isn't too good.
Yeah.
Mainly what was distracting me. Of course, the animation isn't really good in any of the movies, but it's really not very good in this first one.
Yes, the animation is pretty awful and dated. Even though this is a movie based on a doll, there's only so far you can take the whole "they're toys, it's okay if the animation looks wooden or plastic" argument, because the Nutcracker is the only character in the film who is supposed to be a toy. Everyone else is a human being. Yes, the Barbie character is based on a doll, but in the films, she's framed as a real person. If it was the Barbie from the Toy Story films, I'd buy it, and I would be more forgiving and say, like, yeah, they're going for a plastic kind of thing, but it's not. It's Barbie if she was a human, so it's not too easy to forgive when you take that into account. But the Nutcracker himself, yes, totally, they can get away with that kind of movement. It is very creepy-looking animation.
Yes,
It's very, very unsettling. There's something almost like Uncanny Valley about the animation.
Yeah.
They make these characters humans, but they base the designs on the dolls. So they look like human dolls, and it's just so unsettling.
Especially the little children, they look really creepy.
Yes, yes, they really creep me out. They really disturbed me. But yeah, and the thing is, in terms of a Barbie movie straight to video from 2001, it's acceptable. It's what I would expect. If you were to compare it to animated films that came out that year, it's shit, because it came out the same year as Shrek and Monsters, Inc. It's got no chance.
Yeah.
But, like, for what it is, it's fine. I thought it was okay. Film-wise, I didn't mind it too much. I was quite surprised. At first I was a little uneasy because of the animation, but then I started to get a little charmed by it. I found it a bit cute. There's little things that I kind of liked about it.
Yeah. So, spoiler alert, were you not irritated when the characters were like, "Oh, Prince Eric, we hate him. I sure wonder where he is." And I'm like, "Yeah, I sure wonder where Prince Eric is." And then, like, 2 minutes later, they're like, "The Sugar Plum Princess, I sure wonder where she is." And I'm like, "Yeah, I sure wonder who the freaking Sugar Plum Princess is."
Yes, that was kind of silly. That I will admit that. That was
Those
a bit...
are the twists of the movie, and all you need to know is Barbie's in it. There is a Sugar Plum Princess, and you automatically know who the freaking Sugar Plum Princess is.
Yes, but the thing is, I kind of like how certain characters say Sugar Plum Princess, especially the Major. The Major, I want to find the sugar pie.
I don't have time to search for some sugar pie.
Sugar plum.
That was brilliant. And the way Tim Curry says it as well. Sugar Plum Princess.
Sugar Plum Princess.
I love that.
I mean, Tim Curry says everything great, so.
Yeah.
He was definitely the best part of this film.
Oh, totally, absolutely. What I really liked was he definitely over-enunciated, and it fit the design because the Rat King's mouth is very big and gummy, and it just is very, very expressive kind of mouth, and it felt like the way Tim talks fit really well, and the animators managed to make it match as well.
Here it is, the Sugar Plum Princess. Kind, clever, and brave. That's it. Where is she?
I think as well, because the animation is so cheap and crappy, it sort of aids the Rat King. It makes him look a bit creepier and a little intimidating. I can imagine small children being a little scared by him, maybe.
Well, I don't remember. I was pretty easily scared. I remember watching this as a really little kid at a sleepover. I don't remember being too scared by it.
So, the first thing I like about the film, and this mainly applies to when Clara starts dreaming, everything does look effectively dreamlike. There's a nice glow, things feel a bit warm, everything's very colourful. It's got a very dreamy appearance to it that fits the atmosphere. And I like the lighting as well. The lighting's pretty decent, despite the budget limitations. I could tell that they had thought about where to place lights and how to make things look pretty and atmospheric. And the backgrounds were surprisingly decent as well. Not truly impressive.
Sometimes.
Yeah, not truly impressive, but like I'd say like really far back. The really far back backgrounds.
The one thing that I did appreciate was that they had the appropriate music playing at the appropriate times.
Right.
With the appropriate characters. I thought that was good.
See, I've not actually experienced the Nutcracker, so from my end, I can't say how faithful it is.
Well, it was the story was not faithful at all. The only thing was, there is a Rat King, there is a Nutcracker. They even changed the names of some of the characters and what their relationship was. But they did play the appropriate music at sort of the similar times. Like when the snow fairies are there, they actually play the snow fairy music and stuff. Of course, they had to move some of the music to different times just because the story was so different. But overall, I think they did a better job of that, especially better than the movie that they did a couple years later, which was Barbie's Swan Lake, and they don't play the music at the appropriate times in that one at all. So at least this one, it seemed like they kind of had seen the ballet before.
Speaking of the ballet, I'd have to say that the animation had the most attention concerning the ballet.
Yes.
I know they had a lot of references.
I believe they did mocap for the ballet.
Right, yeah. And it's okay. I can see a lot of attention to detail for the ballet, and they managed to translate the movement decently considering the budget limitations and how crappy the animation is. But I do feel as if that at some points the ballet feels forced into the narrative and it will just stop just to show the ballet at some point.
Yeah, like right at the end.
Yes, the film
when they're celebrating.
The film just comes to a conclusion and then everyone just breaks out into ballet. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I saw some points where they had sort of realistic kind of muscle movement. I feel like what they really should have done to make it better was they should have tried to animate some kind of expression on the characters' faces so they didn't look like dead, lifeless little sticks that were dancing around. If you want to see the worst, most awkward, terribly animated, not even looking like there is contact kiss, just watch the end of this movie. And
that was great.
It looks like their faces like phase through each other. It doesn't even look like they're kissing. It looks like their noses are sort of teleporting into each other for a second.
Brilliant. I also found another bit was pretty funny where Clara strokes a horse and it just looks like she's waving at the horse. It's brilliant. The thing is, I can kind of forgive bad animation when it comes off as unintentionally hilarious.
Yeah.
And there are moments in the film that are kind of like that.
My God, the horse. The horse. Marzipan. Why is the horse Marzipan pink? Could you not make him green like actual marzipan?
I have no idea. Okay, so I'd have to say that they did a passable job at creating some chemistry between Prince Eric and Clara. It's not love at first sight or anything like that, and they do have a couple of moments together. It's a little forced at points, but I can see a potential spark. I feel as if the filmmakers are kind of trying. And I like how Clara supports the prince, and the prince credits her for helping motivate him. There's something there. I don't believe it's true love or a deep romance, but I can see something there that could eventually blossom into a stronger bond after a few years.
Yeah, their kiss really sold me on the romance. Man, I feel like a lot of the early movies kind of have that same sort of romance. I mean, you could see it if you squint your eyes and tilt your head a little bit, but it's not, amazing level like some of the Disney movies say.
Another thing I liked was that Clara was a pretty active character and achieved quite a few things throughout the film. She didn't just stand around and watch. You didn't feel like she was just there for the sake of it. She took part in the film, and I kind of admired that, and it surprised me because I thought the film was just going to rely on the novelty of, here's Barbie, she's there, she exists in the film, but she actually takes part. Gave her more agency.
Well, I think the two main characters were a little bit flat. I think the supporting characters were what really took over the show.
Yeah, I really loved the Major and Candy. Mm-hmm. I really loved that dynamic. I thought that was... I loved the way they bounced off each other and how they teased each other, and it was just a nice little relationship they had, and I liked that one was the more observant and smart one, and the other one was a bit more old and silly, and yeah, I liked that. I liked that kind of dynamic.
Bad luck about your knapsack. Now we'll be needing more supplies. Supplies? Thanks to you, I almost fell into the ravine.
Well, don't blame me for your sloppy footwork and general clumsiness.
Clumsy? I'm clumsy? You're the bungling clodhopper.
I kind of liked the Rat King's minion, Pim.
I thought, he was right on the edge of annoying for me.
Yeah.
Right on the edge.
I knew that, like, if they went any further with him, I would hate him. Mm-hmm. But they managed to, like, make him effectively irritating for what the character's supposed to be. But at the same time, I kind of liked his smarminess. I kind of liked how he sometimes had the confidence to backtalk with the Rat King. And out of all the characters, he's got the most expressive face. Everyone else in the film has very stilted, blank faces, but he's got very wide eyes, and he just looks more alive than the other characters.
He also has a disgusting kind of stretchy kind of design. I don't think he was a very attractive design.
Oh no, but that kind of fits because he's a villain, so I kind of looked over that. I also liked that the journey had a good balance of action and conflicts, but also stopped for quiet moments. There's a lot of films like this where the adventure is just a relentless barrage of nonsense and crazy fighting and forced comic relief, but with this there's a couple of scenes where characters will stop and talk or stop and think to themselves, and I kind of liked that pacing. I will admit that in terms of editing, it's very slow, and there's a lot of gaps between people's lines. It feels like it's going in slow motion sometimes. It's like, okay, come on.
Yeah, I think they definitely, for their first attempt, they made a pretty good formula, and they stuck to that formula pretty closely for their the rest of their movies.
Okay, so I've got one more thing to say. My only major pet peeve with the film would have to be how often the fairies interfere with the story.
Yes.
They help out a tad too much. They
Fairies
feel
ex
like
machina.
Yes, they really
Every
do.
scene.
For example, there's a scene where the fairies push the prince and Clara towards each other, literally forcing their romance to happen. And towards the end, where Clara's sat on the beach, like, oh, what do I do now? After the Rat King has kidnapped all the other characters, so she just sat there. Oh, I'm stuck. What do I do? Fairies appear with like a swing and just take her to the Rat King's castle. It's like, come on.
Yeah. Didn't have enough runtime left to make an actual escape. They just needed the fairies to fly her over there.
This is something that I will admire about the film. In terms of sitting through it, it's fine.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like a drag. Even though at some points, like I said, the editing and the animation and stuff like that, it can be a little slow. In terms of pacing overall, it's fine to sit through. And like I said, there's things to admire, there's things to keep you entertained. It's not a remarkable film, it's not groundbreaking, it's not underrated or anything, but it's better than I expected it to be. It's rough around the edges, but I was charmed by the things that worked.
I think it's a very average movie. So I would say that it's definitely like a 5. Very average.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'd say it's not outstanding, but it's also not bad. Mm-hmm. And it's very tolerable, it's cute, it's harmless. If I was told, hey, you've got to watch this again, I wouldn't complain. I wouldn't mind. It was an easy sit. I get why kids like it. I get why a lot of Barbie's fans consider it their favourite. I wouldn't complain. Despite the hiccups, despite how rubbish the animation is, there is some charm there. I would give it 6 out of 10. Right, so now we're going to move on to the next Tim Curry Barbie movie, Barbie and the Three Musketeers. In Barbie and the Three Musketeers, Barbie takes on the role of country girl Corinne, who travels to the city of Paris to become a musketeer, but all the men, including the musketeers themselves, denounce her potential to become one. Instead, she agrees to work as a cleaner at the royal castle, where she meets 3 other girls who also want to become musketeers too. Hélène, the eldest cleaner, decides to help Corinne and her new friends by training them in a secret room. Meanwhile, the prince's cousin, Philippe, voiced by the Lord Almighty himself, Tim Curry, keeps trying to kill his highness, but never succeeds, as Corinne always comes to the rescue. So Philippe plans to personally assassinate the prince himself at an upcoming royal masquerade ball. It's up to our 4 new musketeers to stop this from happening. Oh boy, so this one...
Yes. So I said there was a golden age. In my opinion, it goes from the 2001 to 2005, I suppose, maybe possibly the 2006 Dancing Princesses, but I haven't seen that one. This one is definitely out of that range. It's not as terrible as some of the ones that are coming out now.
Oh no, that's saying something then.
But, you know, it's not something that I like, that I enjoy watching.
Okay, so I will give the film this. I like that it's about a group of girls who are empowered and fight together, and they're trained by another woman. That's very progressive, something to applaud about the film. Everything else is just hilariously bad. I actually had fun from this film because it was so bad. There's just so many stupid and annoying things in this film. I don't know even where to begin.
Okay, let's see. Let's start at the beginning. It opens with the most disgusting and horrifying cat I have ever seen in my entire life.
Okay. Well, here's something. How is the animation worse than the 2001 film? How? It's so bad. This is borderline food fight bad. This is just atrocious. It actually made me feel dizzy looking at it.
I would say that it seems like they put more resources into it, but the resources went into making the characters and the costumes and the settings more richly detailed, not making the animation better.
Yes. The thing is, I can see the rigs. I can see the software being used. It is that bad.
Yeah.
And like you said,
you see the software, but you don't see any life in their dead,
no,
cold eyes.
But like you said, the kitten. The kitten is the worst animated out of every character. What is with that kitten's movement? I don't get it. There's life, but it's not functioning life. It's just gibberish.
They really wanted to make it like a mascot for the movie.
Yeah.
And it really didn't work, because half the time they wanted it to work like a human cat, and half the time they wanted it to work as a cat, and it didn't work either time. It just looked like a disgusting monster.
The kitten is honestly the worst thing about the film. So annoying, so irritating.
No, I'd say the worst thing about the film was the theme song, which had the refrain "Don't mess with the dress," and they basically just sing "Don't mess with the dress" for 3 minutes,
so
singing you out of the movie. And I'm like, okay, I feel very empowered now, you guys.
Okay, well, I find the kitten the most annoying because I'm sick of it saying, "I want to be a musketeer." They drive that pun to the ground. I hate that pun now because they say it so many times.
I hated it when it was born.
Soon we'll be musketeers!
It is also very far-fetched that all the women who want to be musketeers just happen to end up working in the same castle.
Yes.
It's just such a wonderful coincidence.
And they are all color-swapped versions of each other.
They are. Here's another thing. I don't remember any of the other characters' names except for Corin. All the other characters are so one note that they're kind of like one character almost.
Yeah.
Because Corin gets all the development, the rest of the Musketeers, there's nothing to them. Again, forgot their name, forgot who was who. They have the same shtick all the way through the film, and they're not even funny or interesting shticks either.
Yeah. Like, one is really into fashion, and one is really into, like, drama. Like, plays, not drama, like gossip. But, I mean, that's very true to life with the dolls, though. I feel like the only reason that they did this and they had all of these characters was so they could sell more dolls and more costumes and stuff.
Yes, definitely. It feels, compared to the Nutcracker, it feels way more like a commercial.
Yeah, that's what irritates me about the newer movies, is at least before they were trying to tell a story, it feels like to me all these new ones is they're just trying to sell toys, which that's what the early ones were too, selling toys, but it didn't feel like that.
No, it didn't. It felt very subtle about it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're going to make me pay for your commercial, you should make it a good commercial, you know?
Yes. If it's going to be feature length. And here's a thing as well. There is another thing I will say that I liked. The idea of the characters secretly training while also having a cleaning job. That's kind of a fun idea and kind of badass. Mm-hmm. I kind of like that. But that taps into one of my favorite things. I like characters secretly getting together in a sense of community or camaraderie in a place where there's a sense of threat. That's why one of my favorite Harry Potter films is Order of the Phoenix. I like the novelty of all the kids going to that secret place to train. I like stuff like that. There's something very mysterious and fun about it. So now, I like that.
During the initial training montage, were you confused? At least I was confused as to whether or not I should feel empowered or insulted that instead of training with real weapons, they were using fans, I think, and necklaces, and pretty ribbons.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, it's cool they can use all that stuff. I knew why they were doing it. It was so they could sneak into the castle later, but I don't know. I mean,
I know. No, I get exactly where you're coming from. It did feel as if that we have to keep the Barbie hyper feminine theme going. So these are the kinds of weapons that they have to have. But to be fair, at the same time, I can imagine the filmmakers being a bit nervous about what kind of weapons they would use, thinking, oh dear, we don't want to like influence kids to use dangerous kind of weapons. But at the same time, there's swords in the film.
Yeah.
So there was still they made that risk. They could have gone a little further and had some other weapons as well.
Yeah, and Tim Curry never uses really good weapons either. He uses like hot air balloons and chandeliers as his weapons. Yeah, Tim Curry is this evil advisor guy. He's trying to kill the prince, who is I haven't seen all the movies, but in all of my experiences, he is like the worst Barbie movie prince I've ever seen in my entire life. He looks like he's 12 years old. He sounds like he's 12 years old, and he acts like he's 12 years old.
Yes.
And I'm like, please, guy, you're gonna be a king soon. Have some class, will you? and his character design, they gave him like this little frilly little lace collar, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, he already looks like he's 12 years old, guys.
Yeah, true.
I couldn't get on board with this guy. I couldn't. To be fair, the only characters that I got on board with were Tim Curry, the old lady, and Corinne. So that's that's less than 50% of your cast right there. So that's a little disappointing for them.
True. Yeah, I'll have to agree. I really liked Helene. I thought she was quite badass for an old lady character. She was pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the part where she beats up all the soldiers with the broom, and then she's like, "Oh, me."
He goes around casually. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Yeah, she was cool. I liked her a lot. I liked that her character reflected how the idea that men have looked down on women becoming Musketeers for so long that even back in her day she was trying to become one. I kind of like that. I added a bit of history to the film. That was interesting and added a lot to her character as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's important we do discuss the villains, and what I find hilarious is that this is very similar to our problem with the Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost film.
Yeah.
The idea that two characters, one voiced by Tim Curry, one is a shady man with an eye patch and a mustache that is worth twiddling,
Yeah.
are secretly bad guys. Really? I think as an audience member, yes, we get it straight away, but the other
Right.
characters take forever. But it's the principles, it's the idea of thinking, right, we want to have characters that can fit in and get away with this conspiracy, get away with secretly murdering. I know, let's have a villain voiced by Tim Curry and this guy that looks like he belongs in a 1920s silent film as the bad guy. No, it's silly. As soon as I saw the guy with the eye patch, I was like, that's the bad guy. That is the bad guy.
Not just the eye patch, but also the fact that Tim Curry has a pet dog. I really don't like how in these Barbie movies cats are always good and then dogs are always evil. I like dogs. I think they should have
Same.
some dogs that aren't evil. But he has a dog, so you know he's gonna be evil.
Aw.
There is a part, I believe, where the evil Tim Curry advisor is talking to the prince, and he's like, "Oh yes, Your Highness, I'll never be far away from the castle." He like rubs his hands, and the prince is like, "Wow, you're such a great advisor. You're such a great friend. I'm gonna miss you so much when I'm king."
I'll miss you.
Well, I'll never be far from the castle.
And I'm like, Jesus Christ, guy.
The prince is a massive idiot, which definitely links to the funniest part of the film to me,
Yes.
which is
Okay.
the finale. So in the finale, after they've done all this training, they're going to try and stop an attempted assassination of the prince, and to sneak in. Okay, several things they do. First of all, they wear these masquerade masks, which clearly aren't really for really good disguise. They're for, let's make these characters look pretty. So
Yeah.
they're not exactly effective ways of making them not look like the characters that the prince knows or the villain knows. They go by fake names, and they are the stupidest fake names ever. They just play on words.
Yeah.
And it just gives the impression that they're not taking this seriously. Okay, it's cute that you've got Grin's fake name as being Barbecue or something like that. Okay, that's cute. But it doesn't exactly paint a good picture for her. It just makes her seem childish. This is a part of the film where she's got a big responsibility.
Yeah.
And yet she's doing this. And I link this to the prince's stupidity, because even though you can clearly see it's Corin, because it's
Yeah.
a really obvious, it's so obvious because of the mask not even covering much.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I think I know you." And then later in the film, when she takes off the mask, she's like, "Oh, it's you!" Oh, you idiots!
Yeah, and
And
he goes through, he calls her, he's like, "Lady Barbecue, here, take your sword." And I'm like, "Really, guy, you think her name is Lady Barbecue? You really think that's her real name?"
Falls for the fake name. So dumb. And the fact that Philippe actually tries to sneak into the masquerade with an equally terrible mask that doesn't cover up any of him, and people still think, "Oh, he's just a guest." What?
No one is checked for any invitations, they just walk in.
Yeah. There's no sense of security. They can just walk in. Doesn't matter what they're wearing. Doesn't matter what their name is. Doesn't matter what kind of class or background they come from. They just walk in and make shit up as they go along. To be honest, I would say that this is a great film for getting friends together and riffing, because it's just constant stupid awkwardness and unintentional hilarity. It's so bad that it's good. It's one of those films. It honestly is. I had fun from how terrible it is. It is far from a good film. But but considering how many average, mundane, bad kids animated films are out there, at least this one has that so bad it's good kind of appeal. At least when you're watching it, you can laugh at how terrible animation, you can laugh at how stupid the characters are. Yeah, there's a lot to be had. I feel as if you're up for it, get some friends together, grab some drinks, and watch this film, because it honestly has that kind of experience. It really does. There's just so much to laugh at and poke fun at.
Okay. If that's if that's how you feel, I would recommend one of the movies from between 2001 and 2005, because they are also pretty poorly animated, cheesy. They have gross animal sidekicks, but they're less trying to force you to buy shit.
Yeah. Well, the
I'd
thing
recommend
is,
those better.
yeah.
More.
Well, the thing is, even though the Barbie and the Nutcracker had bad animation, it wasn't remarkably bad, like with Three Musketeers. And I think that's one of the things that helped me kind of forgive that film, because I watched Barbie and the Three Musketeers before Nutcracker, and when I was watching Nutcracker, I was like, you know what? In comparison, this looks better. At least I don't feel sick and dizzy while watching the bad animation. Not sure what score to give this, because on the one hand, I had fun from how bad it was, but it's still a shit movie. So there's enjoyment to be had, but I can't in good conscience say that this is a good film. I would say it's possibly a 4 out of 10.
I'm gonna give it a 4-2. I think everything about the movie is really average. That cat is disgusting, but still, compared to other things, it's pretty, not as disgusting as it could be. But it's just so commercial.
It is,
It's
yeah.
so, buy all these dresses and the fan accessories and the sword accessories and their fighting outfits and their ball outfits and their every single different one of the characters that we didn't even try to make interesting for you. They're just here, so you should buy them.
Yeah.
I don't think that's really very insidious. So 4 out of 10.
Yes. I've been Jampariki, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Church of Tim Curry.
I've been Viva Becker, and I want to be a musketeer.
Oh, fuck off.